He kōna ipurangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Hey Phil, how are you?
Oh, kia ora, how you doing? Good.
My former camera woman, Belinda Walsh.
B, the reason I'm calling is that, do you remember that story that we did way back? It was actually 2004. Aiping Wang. Do you remember that?
Aiping Wang. 2004, yes.
She brought those people out from Slovenia and Croatia, right?
Yes. Oh gosh, I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was quite a story, wasn't it? And do you remember when we caught up with her for the first time? I think it was on an escalator in Zagreb.
I made the 2020 doco with B, and I wanted to sense check my memories of this chaotic time.
We got up at about 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and in that random rental car, and we waited out on the street for her to come. And when she did, we jumped out. It was a sunny morning. We did like a 10-minute walk backwards. Well, I walked backwards with the camera. It was longer than that, in fact. And it took us through a shopping mall, right up the escalator, and then into her kind of clinic thing.
Aiping Wang. Hello, I'm from the 2020 program, New Zealand. I need to ask you a few questions.
Yes.
She was clearly surprised, but didn't want to talk there and then about responsibilities to her followers. She offered to do an interview at a later time.
Tell me when.
When I have break time.
Okay.
The interview with Aiping wouldn't happen then or there, but it would happen. And it was one of the strangest experiences. Kia ora, I'm Phil Vine from RNZ, and this is The Lodge, the fall and rise of a wellness cult, a podcast about healing, about the power of belief and its lasting effects on the believers and the believed.
Grandmaster Aiping Wang has made her spiritual headquarters in Fiordland, where she teaches people...
That's how current affairs sounded back in 2004. It's the 2020 program that I reported on about the Lodge. We've covered a lot of ground since then. A quick recap, perhaps. So the guru, Aiping Wang, arrives at the Lodge in 1998, offering her followers a range of practical teaching courses like seeing the future, teleportation and levitation, and more seriously, healing without medicine.
But it became quite a big tumour, about half the size of my fist, I suppose.
Two of her devotees pay with their lives.
I miss my mom more than I can express in words.
Some followers run away.
All of us were shaking. All of us were scared.
Others stay.
I think she's an incredible woman. I think she has incredible knowledge.
Aiping's teachings spread to the UK, the States and Europe like spiritual margarine.
How can I get healthy? How can I get happiness? How can I get the money?
A Kiwi believer in London, Warwick,
if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Convinced that his HIV can be miraculously cured. Well, it couldn't. The failure caught on camera by the BBC.
When it comes to really serious life-threatening conditions and the vulnerability of people in that situation, then it's unforgivable in my book, really.
Costs for VIP followers are astronomical. $730,000 for life membership. Aiping's spiritual business seems to be run through a franchise system, as we're about to find out, growing on the back of a juggernaut wellness industry.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of money to be made.
So let's find out what Aiping's followers are paying for. Oh, but just quickly, if anyone out there has information about this cult and its business activities, whether you're a follower or an ex-follower or someone who knows someone who is, please get in touch. phil.vine@rnz.co.nz. So in a wellness world, with gurus round every corner of the internet, What's Aiping's unique selling proposition? What's the appeal? It's something I've been trying to work out for more than 2 decades. I'm just wondering if he has any more information as to when Aiping might be back in London. In 2004, Bea and I were in Europe trying to track down the guru from the lodge. They say she's in China, then she's in London, and then maybe she's in Paris. The latest we've heard is that she's in Zagreb in Croatia, and that's where we're going to go next. Before that encounter on the shopping mall escalator in Croatia, Bea and I had decided to book a group session with Aiping in Zagreb to get to grips with her philosophy, to experience it, record it, so we could explain with more accuracy what she was on about. After chasing all over Europe, we were delighted and relieved to find Aiping's clinic.
So, here you go. Thank you very much. I'll leave you here. Okay. Thank you. See you later. Bye. Bye.
So, that's it. We've come to the right place.
To do some relaxation.
Okay, just a moment. You are for Miss Wang?
Yeah.
And she's here.
Just a moment. Let me look.
We sat in on the relaxation.
We thought we'd absolutely recorded it, but nothing came out afterwards.
Oh, that's right. Still recording. Yeah. That was so weird. I had forgotten that.
Yeah, recording device didn't pick up anything that Aiping said. Spooky dooky, as Bea would say. So the best thing I can offer you is this excerpt from one of Aiping's relaxation tapes.
Please close your eyes. Forget all the problems. What you have.
I have to confess that even after talking to followers, ex-followers, sitting through that energy session in Zagreb, I don't really get it.
Now is time.
I was missing some vital points. What is this energy? Where does it come from? And what does it do? Basic things. Here's something else, though, an explainer from Aiping's YouTube channel called What is Life? Maybe that'll help.
What is life? What's the difference between a corpse and a live human being? What's the difference between the sick and the healthy, the poor and rich? And what's the difference between unsuccessful people and successful people?
The answer, which the narrator eventually gets to, is energy. Of course, simple. Or is it just simplistic, as Warwick's flatmate suggested? My research also took me to a wiki page in Slovenian, heavily annotated by one of Aiping's followers. This is what the translation says about Aiping's philosophy.
Relaxation in life technology is carried out by trying to reach a state of no thought.
Okay. Wiki tells me that an instructor, that'll be Aiping or someone she's trained, sits on stage and leads a treatment consisting of relaxation and energy transfer through speech.
We must not wish for anything. We must not do anything. We must not control ourselves. We must be patient. We must surrender to the flow of the original life energy.
Of course, everybody wants to have her abilities, wants to help people. We were willing to do everything just to get the secrets from her.
Eddie, an ex-follower, that engineer from Slovenia we talked to earlier, he got taught by Aiping how to be an instructor, one of those guys that sits up front and takes the energy sessions. So, what's the secret?
Forget everything what you know, forget all the problems, and just learn how to not think.
And that's the secret?
That's the secret. We're just supposed to sit on the chair, ask people for the problems that they have, and when they ask what they need to do, you just tell them you need to relax. You need to learn how to relax.
That was it?
Yeah. Learn how to not think.
Okay, so how does this not thinking heal you.
Energy flows through the body. It flows around the body. It flows everywhere in the universe and also through the human body.
Sarah McCrum, the public face and voice of Aiping's Lodge, the Phenomena Academy and the Energy Bank.
So when there's a blockage in the flow, then you begin to get problems. And if those kinds of blockages build up and they're not released out, they eventually will become physical illnesses.
Aiping's philosophy, life technology, has been adapted from the ancient Chinese practice of Qigong that's been around for 4,000 or 5,000 years. The Qi refers to vital or dynamic energy, and the Gong is the development of capacity, so developing vital energy. This is from an academic paper from Switzerland called Understanding Traditional Chinese Medicine Therapeutics.
The main therapeutic goals of Qigong are to eliminate internal pathogenic factors, harmonise the qi flow, and restore harmony in the patient.
Nothing in there about using it to treat HIV or cancer, though.
I always trust the practice which has clear scientific evidence to show and support the claim before we can do anything in the real world for patients.
Dr. Emily Yang, remember, from Western Sydney University, who trained with Chinese masters in Tai Chi, which is another form of Qigong. Her work involves the scientific testing of traditional Chinese medicine, TCM.
So my study, I will do like co-design first, like we create the intervention itself with healthcare practitioners, patients, and Tai Chi practitioners together to make sure it suits the patient's needs. And then we do a pilot clinical trial to test whether it works or not, use quantitative and qualitative measurements before we can make any claim or any conclusion that it has health benefits.
Right. So this type of energy healing life technology that I sent you the information about, they make some pretty strong claims. They say they can cure cancer and HIV. I wonder what you think about that.
So from what you are talking about, my understanding is Chinese medicine and also like Tai Chi or Qigong, they can have complementary benefits for patients.
Complementary benefits. Things like reduced anxiety and tension, better sleep.
Like, for example, I would not claim Tai Chi can treat cancer. I would never claim in this way.
Yet 2 of Aiping's followers died of cancer, and their families say Aiping was trying to cure them with energy. What would the guru say about that? I have to admit, I've kind of been holding back this interview with Aiping. Without learning first about Giannis and Sharon's death, you might have passed Aiping as a harmless, eccentric New Ager. 2 months after the escalator encounter in Zagreb, after some intense negotiations through lawyers, we finally got an invite. The road from Tiano up to the lodge is blanketed in fog. The wooden gate, about 5 metres high, had a set of deer antlers fixed to a triangular apex. The place was nestled in snow-sprinkled foothills and beech forest. Single-storey wooden buildings like Swiss chalets with neatly mown grounds. It was quite intimidating to be inside this place I'd heard and read so much about. We got shown to the theatre where Aiping takes energy sessions by remote. A dozen or so inhabitants had gathered to watch. They hung around in the background, but didn't really engage or intervene.
And do you remember we went down and we interviewed her at the lodge?
Yeah.
And she beamed in from somewhere, Croatia or London or somewhere, Hamburg, on a screen.
Yeah, the massive screen. Yeah, that's right. That was so weird.
Yeah.
Up pops Aiping Wang on the giant video screen. I'm assembling my thoughts. I'm pretty nervous. I'm feeling the weight of Suzanne's and Borik's expectations after their mothers' and brothers' deaths. Pleasantries are exchanged. Aiping is open-faced and friendly. First up, I wanted to ask her if she truly believed that energy could heal serious diseases.
Can this relaxation and this positive energy cure cancer?
If the person can relax very well, and the person can understand how to do it, technique, any diseases, can be balanced by the universe energy. Doesn't matter which diseases.
Can they be cured?
Yes, any diseases can get balance by the life energy.
All right, no room for confusion there. Aiping says that any diseases, even cancer, can be balanced by life energy, aka universe energy, the basis of her philosophy of Shenxi, or life technology. In the interview, I asked her to explain more.
Every day we eat fresh food, and next day we go to toilet, pee and poo. So the universe energy, the same thing. When we receive the universe energy, and we need release the negative energy to get the benefit, health, happiness, and wisdom life.
So receiving positive energy is like food. Getting rid of negative energy is like ablutions. Well, you could never accuse Aiping of overcomplicating the message. And it was weird to be interviewing this figure on such a huge screen. I had this silly thought that she was actually at the lodge, hiding in a broom closet or something, and projecting this larger-than-life image, like the Wizard of Oz.
So the rich higher spiritual is rich empty. If you empty your mind, empty your body, you can receive quantity fresh energy.
I reminded Aiping about Sharon, Suzanne's mum, with breast cancer, isolated in a hospital bed in Queensland. If you remember, Aiping said she couldn't make it to see Sharon in Cairns because she was recording some rejuvenation CDs.
I don't have time to go because I have all the time. I count with 1-2 students occupied for my time because my teaching is a group, all the time group teaching. So I asked Sharon to come back, but she can't come back. I was telephone her, and I sent the 3 students to go to her. She's very happy about that.
That was the energy team that Aiping sent to Sharon rather than going to see her in Australia.
What did the energy team do for her?
Give confidence and help relaxation, help her to receiving the energy, help her releasing the pain.
Suzanne told me her mother was reluctant to take painkillers as they went against Aiping's teachings.
What did you advise her on the phone about painkillers?
If she like to take a painkiller, she can take. If she think it's not necessary, she don't need to take. Decision by her.
Decision by her. Sharon's daughter, Suzanne, says her mum was deeply influenced by Aiping, her spiritual guru, strongly enough to avoid painkillers which might have eased her last days. As we've heard Suzanne say, Sharon died a horrible death from the breast cancer. So let's find out what Aiping has to say about Janus's death, the follower with that huge melanoma on his face.
Did you encourage him to seek Western medicine?
I suggest him to go to hospital, but he refused.
Why do you think he refused?
Because he know he cannot get help. Inside he know that.
He knows he can't get help. What does that mean? Either Janus thought conventional treatment couldn't fix what he had. That's one possible interpretation. Another one is that Janus knows he can't go to hospital while he's receiving energy therapy from Aiping and getting his photos taken to prove that her treatment works.
Why weren't you there when he died?
Because I have lots of students training. I have plan. Go everywhere.
And the critical question on my mind at the time, and still on my mind, is Aiping aware of the power she exerts over her followers? These people, these students of yours, respect you so much, and they hang off your every word. If they think that part of your teaching is not to take conventional medicine, not to take painkillers, they're not likely to do that, are they?
That's their decision, you know. I'm according to the law, according to the local law, according to the New Zealand law, according to each country's law. Yeah, I must according to the law to behave.
Not breaking the law seems like a pretty low bar when you have so much influence over people's lives. These teachings led to life or death decisions for people like Giannis and Sharon. I'd really like to clarify these answers with Aiping Wang to see if she's changed her position at all 20 years on. Give her a right of reply and another chance to explain how energy healing works. But she's not responding to any of my messages, and I've been asking for months. I'll keep on trying, even if that means flying south, driving up to that lodge again. When we visited the lodge in 2004, we were actually invited to film inside the bunker that former follower Eddie told me about.
You can say that it's like bunker because people from Tiano, they were actually delivering concrete and all the metal. They were just amazed how much concrete we used.
So this is the underground storage area. Lodge manager Sarah McCrum flat out denied that it was a bunker.
It's a ridiculous suggestion. That place couldn't do anything if there was a disaster in the world. If you really wanted to build something like that, you'd do something completely different.
As did her guru, Aiping. Aiping said it was used for underground food storage. Why underground? I mean, that must have cost so much more to dig a great big hole and use all that concrete. And why didn't you just put it in a building?
Yeah, because against the wetness. Yeah, if you so much food, they have the wet. Yeah, will be molded. So this is the protect of the wetness.
I went down into the underground storage today. It was pretty wet in there.
Yeah, because this is still not very well constructed.
Ow, burn, Eddie. Regarding the prophesized end of the world...
Yeah, we were preparing like that it's going to end. And like because they were preparing, everybody believed that that's true.
Aiping also distanced herself from that.
The world change, yeah, it is natural. But I never say the world changes overnight.
What about those exorbitant prices charged to life members? Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I didn't force anybody to pay this. This is by their own will to pay it. I just want to give the best what my knowledge, how to get health, how to get happiness, how to get quality life.
So did Aiping consider she was running a cult at the lodge?
I don't believe, teach people how to get health, how to get, how to get happiness, how to get high wellness, consciousness, get so much, quality life. That's the bad things.
No, they're not bad things per se, but back to the original question, is it a cult?
I can't explain. I don't know I'm a cult or not. So whole New Zealand people can judge I'm cult or not.
The whole of New Zealand can judge if I am cult or not.
Look, no cult leader ever has admitted that they're running a cult.
Cult watcher, Anka Richter again.
No cult advertises as a cult. It's like being accused of being a racist. No one admits to that. It's a negative stereotype. And I think it's not even about classifying or putting a certain label on it, but actually more looking at the problematic dynamics and where do they show up and to what extent and what harm can a group cause. People who are inside of a cult, they're the last ones to actually see it for what it is until often it's too late, or they're broken, or they have, they leave with massive repercussions to their health or their life.
The repercussions for Aiping's followers started way before she moved to the lodge. Something you need to understand to get the full arc of this wellness odyssey. If you recall, Aiping Wang arrived in Tiano in 1998. Q delivery trucks rolling up with concrete for Eddie's bunker. Aiping originally came from China, but by way of Eastern Europe. For a decade, she'd built up a huge spiritual following in Slovenia, not to be confused with Slovakia. Slovenia's a small nation of 2 million between Italy and Croatia. Just so you know for the pub quiz. Its capital could be another one of those tricky quiz questions. Ljubljana. Lots of J's. After World War II and right up until the end of the 1980s, Slovenia was part of Yugoslavia under socialist rule, until that rule came crashing down.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Reporting tonight from Berlin.
From the Berlin Wall specifically, take a look at them. They've been there since last night. They are here in the thousands. They are here in the tens of thousands. Occasionally they shout, Die Mauer muss weg, the wall must go.
After the fall of the wall in 1989, Eastern Europe experienced new religious freedoms. Into the spiritual vacuum came insurance company director Aiping Wang from Nanchang in southern China.
Yeah, I started really to believe, to completely surrender myself, to do the things she was teaching us, to surrender, to believe.
Aiping and her energy sessions filled halls with hundreds, then thousands of people. People like Simona.
Don't doubt, don't think.
Simona was another ex-follower I talked to for the 2004 documentary. She'd left the lodge by then and returned home to Slovenia. She was our guide when B and I went there to talk to Aiping. She took us to the place where Aiping started out. Aiping Wang's following started here at this old cinema hall. She developed this almost mystical reputation for healing anything from cancer to baldness. An image from that time shows a much younger Aiping at one of these gatherings. On a stage, the backdrop is heavy with flowers, ferns, birds of paradise, and draping foliage. Her arms are raised, eyes closed. She's wearing a black jacket with 3 lines of buttons all done up, with 2 long, thin, silver-purple collars. The hall is packed with hundreds of Slovenians.
I was every day under the pressure where to get money. I almost went sick because of that. It's crazy, but I was every day searching where to get money. I have to bring money to Miss Wang.
What did your family think of you going to these sessions and giving all this money?
From the beginning, they didn't know. They thought maybe just relaxing, it's going to be okay. But then they saw how much money is supposed to be given there. Then they said, stop it. This is crazy. You are crazy.
Simona says sometimes in one-on-one sessions, her master, Aiping, would say very little.
When I paid her private session, I would go there and she would be like that, just staring at me and doing like that. And what do you think?
And you paid money for that?
I said maybe she sees something on me. She sees my energy. I started to talk. If she's doing like that, I was talking. And then at the end, she would ask me, do you know what you have to do? And I said yes.
I've heard of people charged between $700 and $12,000 for an individual half-hour session with Aiping Wang.
When she started in Slovenia about 12 years ago, after 6 months or so, she had 5,000 people a day.
Sarah McCrum talking up Aiping's backstory in Annie's documentary.
So huge numbers. I reckon probably nearly 100,000 people over 12 years.
So if it was all going so well, why did Aiping leave Eastern Europe? Oh yeah, that's right, the millennial apocalypse. She had to head to New Zealand, she said, because there was going to be a world disaster.
People feared the switch from the year 99 to 00 would create havoc on computer programs, affecting everything.
Actually, there might have been another reason why Aiping might have wanted to leave Eastern Europe.
mysterious Chinese woman came to Ljubljana.
In a public library in the Slovenian capital,
The city of Ljubljana became very restless.
Simona translates some newspaper articles for me from the 90s.
There were reports of people getting out of wheelchairs and walking, but not all of the publicity has been positive. In 1992, Aiping Wang was charged with endangering the lives of 3 followers: university students, diabetics who'd stopped taking their insulin and nearly died.
After a 5-year legal battle, Aiping was acquitted. While the case was running, she shifted to the US and Croatia. During our interview at the lodge, I asked her about the trial and those diabetic students.
Why did they stop taking the insulin?
My principle is to teach them how to receive the energy, how to balance themselves and to get health, but they feel great. So they decide to give up the medication. After that, they have big reaction. Finally, in the court, they said, this is not my fault. I have proof in the court already. So the judge, the highest judge is state judge, I'm not good for this.
In the last few months, I've learnt that while Aiping was in Croatia, there were also reports of 2 deaths there among her followers: a 37-year-old kidney patient who stopped taking his medication, and a 36-year-old woman who'd been receiving Aiping's treatments and had been sleeping at her centre in Zagreb for 3 months. She also died suddenly. And that was all before Aiping got to New Zealand, before the deaths of Janis and Sharon, Suzanne's mum, and before the promises of supernatural powers. So what about that ability to fly? Sarah McCrum, manager at the lodge, had told me it was a joke, that Chinese people are always joking about things like that.
Is it a joke or is it real?
So far you don't see it's joke. What you see is real. Somebody see is not joke. Did you see the Cochin tiger and hidden dragon?
A legend of extraordinary power. The story of a hero. The woman...
It was just a film.
You can ask, I don't know it's film or not, but in Chinese a lot of master can. They can do it.
And you know this from the film?
It's not. Some is really can fly. This is some master.
Have you seen someone fly?
I heard.
One thing that Aiping Wang says she can see, however, is the future.
Some eyes can see far, some eyes can see short. See future, it is one kind of energy abilities. So when you have big capacity of the energy, you can see the future.
Can you do that?
You can see.
Can you do that?
Like a weather channel. I'm not very well, but a little bit.
On the topic of supernatural powers, Emily, Dr. Yang from Western Sydney University, has an interesting take. When she trained in Tai Chi in China, there was definitely talk of these special abilities.
My Tai Chi master will talk about there are different aspects of the practice. So you can choose to practice, for example, to like martial arts parts, you can choose to focus on health, you can choose to focus on like performance, you can choose to focus on rich like inner peace and more spiritual way. And she will also warn us to do not pursue those ability which is like normal people can't imagine, like supernatural ability, because there will be some risk to harm your mind and body. So I didn't practice in that way, and I never think I will approach to that direction.
While such supernatural abilities might exist, says Emily, there are no scientific instruments to measure them. Curious. I guess it's easy to listen to these way out ideas and immediately write off Aiping's followers at the lodge as utterly deluded. But they're not idiots. Not by a long stretch. Not according to Eddie.
The most interesting is that all those people, they are highly educated. They're doctors, they are lawyers, it's not that they would be average people.
And we all want to believe in something, don't we? a dead man rolling back a rock and then saving the world from sin. That was my belief once upon a time.
Some people, they ask her if she's Jesus. Yeah. She would say, I don't know. Or if somebody would say, do you have abilities to fly? She would say, I don't know. She would never say yes or no. She will always keep you think about.
Well, my take on Aiping was, by that time, I suppose I was months into filming, was this is complete and utter gobbledygook nonsense.
You know how I was saying that Annie, the BBC documentary maker, seemed super neutral about Aiping and her teachings when I first started talking to her? Well, eventually she opened up.
How is anyone sitting here with a straight face believing this, you know? But they were sitting in rapt attention. She didn't speak in joined up sentences. It was really all about the ego, you know, anything she didn't understand that was happening to people in the room. Well, you know, they were just too egocentric. It was all about them, or me, as she would say. And so therefore the energy couldn't get in. And they were all sitting believing this.
Annie didn't get an official interview with Aiping, but she did film her and formed a firm impression.
But when you meet the lady, I mean, I met her, and really I've never been so less convinced by anyone really in my life. I mean, she couldn't answer a question, you know. So we tried to basically interview her when we went to Croatia. We kind of caught her as she was coming out of the sea, having been told we weren't to interview her. But really, it was not transmittable. There was nothing you could understand. Yeah, I mean, she wasn't this sort of towering evil figure or anyone really that you would look twice at. And she certainly wasn't making any sense, so it didn't even make the documentary, you know.
I guess that lack of communication, I suppose, adds to the mysticism in a way.
Exactly. Well, the one thing she kept saying, well, there's a new paradigm coming.
And the more I think about Aiping, her open-ended answers to questions from followers, her allegorical statements, which could be interpreted any number of ways, it puts me in mind of a film from 1979.
In a garden, growth has its season. First comes spring and summer, but then we have fall and winter.
Being There, a classic Peter Sellers movie, perhaps his best. It's a satire about how a simple gardener called Chauncey becomes a consultant for captains of industry and finally the trusted advisor to the president.
I think what our insightful young friend is saying is that we welcome the inevitable seasons of nature, but we're upset by the seasons of our economy.
Yes, there will be growth in the spring.
Horticultural phrases.
As long as the roots are not severed.
Taken to be metaphors, thoughtful insights. When Sellers' character is asked for advice...
Mr. Garner, do you agree with Ben, or do you think we can stimulate growth through temporary incentives?
He thinks about it for ages and replies with a single utterance, then waits patiently for it to land.
All is well, and all will be well in the garden.
In the garden?
Yes.
The audience, no matter how intelligent, rich and powerful, not wanting to appear stupid, take his simple sentences and imbue them with profound political or economic meaning.
Thank you, Ben.
To quote Mr. Gardner, as long as the roots of industry remain firmly planted in the national soil, the economic prospects are undoubtedly sunny.
Demonstrating the power of simple ideas spoken with great conviction. It's a classic tale based on mystical misunderstanding. In the Oscar-winning movie, Chauncey, the gardener, gets right to the top, into the White House, and actually becomes president himself. That could never happen in real life. Only in America, as the line from the film goes. That's Being There, Ep 4 of 8 Eps of The Lodge. Coming up, life technology, Aiping's philosophy, goes international.
They're very clever, and how she's managed to get away with opening branches all over the world, I have no idea.
Riding the wellness wave, reaching so many in the 2020s.
In this lineage of manifestation gurus who are, again, using the law of attraction, energy, the power of the mind to change one's reality.
Police say they've established communication with a man holed up in a Tauranga hotel.
A would-be bomber shuts down an entire city centre.
When he came into reception, he had a rucksack with him.
He was one of Aiping's followers from the lodge.
He just said that he wanted to speak to the Prime Minister. He had a bomb with him.
Thanks for listening, and a special thanks to our guests Emily Yang, Annie Kossoff and Anka Richter. Big ups to our marvellous RNZ engineers, Ben Pearce, Rangi Powick and Jeremy Ansell. Thanks to my producery colleagues, Liz Garton, William Ray and Justin Gregory. Cheers to Amrita Marks for the stunning tile visuals, Luke Bottle and Robert Stewart and our legal team, my executive editor, Tim Watkin, and the person that makes everything happen, Brianna Uritich-Gregg. Make sure you're following The Lodge wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. You can read more about this mind-boggling wellness cult and see photos of all the characters involved on the RNZ website. Links in the show notes. Shout out to Nick DeFries, Beatnik, for his music.